What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian.
I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
To all you Blues fans, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
BlueNote. Oh, fan report. Woo! We got a crowd here. Live studio audience. Hey, Justin, how are you doing today?
How you doing, Guy? I'm excited for tonight, man. I really, really am. It's gonna be a good night. I feel it.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
You know what? I'm proud of you. This is yours. You set this up. This is all on you. I'm really proud of you for doing this. So I'm gonna let you introduce our guest. So you got the floor, my friend.
All right. Well, you guys know her as Deek Peak is her thing, but I am proud to bring on Jorden Deeken from ESPN 101. How are you doing, Jorden?
I'm great, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I was excited to get you because you're kind of our first guest. Guys had a lot of guests on, but you're the first guest that we've had on. With me and him doing the show together. So it's a big deal. I was excited for tonight. I hope Guy is the same, and I hope you were excited to come on.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for, giving me that honor. That's so nice. This is only my third ever podcast that I've been on. So it's very exciting for me too. So thanks for having me.
I know one of them you've been on. You were on with Corey, STL hockey fan. Who else were you on, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
was on with Jeff Ponder's Let's Go Blues Radio earlier this week, actually.
Okay.
So.
Yep. My podcast started because of them.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, my podcast kind of started because of them. They were I had gone to a game in Vegas, the first Blues game in Vegas, and it caught them right after the game. They brought me on, and cool. I kind of learned how to do it from them. So yeah, they're one. As far as lengthwise, they're one, I'm two. So it's a lot of fun to do it. Welcome to the show, Jorden. It's great to have you on the BlueNote Fan Report. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and where you went to high school, obviously. The St. Louis questions that we love to ask. I'll just kind of let you go from there. But
yeah, so I'm from Wentzville, Missouri, went to Holt High School. Woohoo, go Indians. I then went to Lindenwood University and got a major bachelor's in broadcast communications. And I also minored in dance as well for COVID-related reasons. That was supposed to be a double major, but that's okay. And then from there, I finished up my classes in August of 22, and I started working for the Blues as an intern in September of 23. So that was a very quick and fun turnaround for me. I grew up going to Blues games. I think between like 6 and 9 months old was my first game. My parents were season ticket holders from 97 up until COVID. So I kind of just grew up around that place. So internship with the Blues turned into like a couple years working with them. And then this past season, actually, I went full-time at Hubbard Radio 101 ESPN. And then I also do some work on 105.7 The Point, producing the Woody Show over there. But main work is with the Blues, producing every game, going to practices, and doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff for the pregame show through the end game, all the way up to the postgame show. That all happens on 101 ESPN. And then I make my game day and reaction videos as well. So
that's pretty cool. I'm gonna ask this question kind of quick. What besides the cup, because most people that's their number one Blues memory. What's your number one Blues memory? And I mean, it can be from your childhood or from your working or whatever. But what's your number one Blues memory besides the cup?
Okay, so it's not going to be about the cup, but it's going to be tied into it. I think I got to go to the home opener when they raised the banner the year after, and that was a really cool moment. Granted, at this time, like, I'm still just a fan. I'm not in the media at all. Like, I went downtown early to like see everybody, convince my mom to buy tickets last minute, and we got to go there. So I think like it is cup related, but just seeing like all of the hard work afterwards, like getting that banner up there was just like super, super cool. And we played Washington that night, so that's always like a good matchup. But I like to make a lot of recap videos. So I made like a whole like little montage for myself and my family from that cup run. And it's just like, because we were at all the home games with our season tickets and everything. So it's very fun to look back on and like, fan now, fan then, but just like how much it's kind of full circle to be working on the other side now.
Yeah, that's a good memory. I was at game 3 of the finals. I flew in 28 hours on the ground, flew in, went to game 3, flew out the next morning.
Wow. That's dedication. That's very cool.
Do you know where I'm located?
Hawaii, correct?
Yeah. So
cool.
Right. Some people don't know that I'm actually out here. I'm from St. Louis, born and raised. I know. I'm going to give you a little of my backstory. I know you've had more connection with Justin. Are you cool with that, Justin?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm an observer right now. I'm listening. I'm enjoying it.
Well, I plan on turning this interview over to you, but I want to get a little of my backstory in because you set this up and that, but get a little of my stuff in, and I'm a little more experienced to an interview, so just kind of going from there. I'm born and raised in St. Louis, lived Maryland Heights. I actually went to Cleveland High School back when it was the NJROTC unit. I'm one of the originals. Joined the Navy in '87, did 20 years, got stuck here in Hawaii. A lot of people go, "Oh, poor you." I'm one of them. I would rather live in St. Louis in a heartbeat. I started this show in 2018 for personal reasons. It just kind of evolved out of something, and I've been going. And it was that first season. The first game I started with, they played Calgary and got destroyed. I actually have 2 of the game pucks from that game that I did my first show with.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I bought 2 of the game. They're Calgary scored game pucks, but I've got 2 of the game pucks from that, and I've been doing this is my 8th season, and we're really happy to have you here. I'm going to let Justin ask you some questions about what you do and your job and things like that, and then after we go over that, maybe we'll start getting into the Blues week that was and the week that's coming up.
Yep, sounds good.
Well, Jorden, I know you do a lot of work alongside Alex Ferrario. What's it kind of like getting to work with someone of that caliber, who's been doing it for so long, in the business of, working with the Blues and whatnot?
Yeah, it's very cool. Like, obviously I grew up listening to him, and so now working with him is very, very cool. He's so knowledgeable. He likes to go down his little rabbit holes and find all of the stats from so many years back, but it all ties in together, like what's happening here. Grant Francis used to be the Blues producer. I kind of took over for him this season, and him and Alex always used to go down those rabbit holes. So like, I'm trying to take on that role a little bit and find some cool nuggets for him. But yeah, he's so knowledgeable, so helpful. He is there for like whatever I need, because obviously I have very busy days, as does he. So, and he's got 3 little girls and like family, so like, it's very inspiring to see what he does and how much he does in just one day, because there's a lot that goes into everything, but his balance, like work, family life, like it's very inspiring to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of leads into the next kind of question. It would be like, when you hear producing, you hear, oh, it's producing, but like most people don't know what kind of goes into that role. So would you kind of give some insight to what kind of stuff you do, what you're responsible for doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to attend.
I want to sort of say this. Great question, Justin. You read my mind. Thank you.
Yes, very good. So I try to attend every practice when the Blues are at home. I sadly did not get to go this morning, and of course, there was an injury that happened that I have no knowledge about right now. So, but not anybody does. So, but yeah, so I try to attend every practice. Usually, try to get some videos of head coach Jim Montgomery giving some answers based on like what players injury updates, what their like next matchup is going to be. Like tomorrow morning, I'll go to the morning skate. Obviously, he's going to talk about what they need to do different against Nashville tomorrow night so they don't get blown out again. So I go to those practices, take those videos, cut up any audio that we get from there, and then make my game day videos, edit all of those throughout the day, and send them over to Mike Ryder. He's our executive producer of the entire station, and he does so much work. Sometimes I'll just sit behind him, watch him click, 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 type, 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 and I'm like, what is going on in your brain at all times? But yeah, there's just a lot of pushing the buttons, a lot of like making sure everything sounds good. But yeah, it's a lot of behind the scenes. I think the couple times that you hear my voice during pregame is when we call it the montage, but we give like a little game recap at the very beginning of pregame show of what happened last game. And then Alex will take it in, and then we give bets every night that we're like, try to win you some money, bet against us because we're not doing too well this season. So yeah, so you hear my voice a couple of times on the pregame show and everything like that, but it's a lot of behind the scenes. I describe to people that don't really understand radio and producing and everything like that. I'm the one that pushes all the buttons. So that's what I do.
Well, and I want to pass along this one question before I kind of push it back over to Guy, and we'll kind of tackle it later. But I want to understand the fan aspect of things. So obviously you were, you're born in Missouri. You're a Blues fan at heart. So when you're thinking about that and when you're doing your job, do you still have that fan in you? Are you still very much obviously you cover the Blues, so obviously there's a little fandom there, but do you try to look at everything as unbiased as you can?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, you have to in the media, I mean, you don't want to be called like a homer or like not taking things seriously, but as for like the fan side goes, I mean, it's definitely, it's been hard sometimes, it's, I do have that deep down fan inside of me, but in my brain, it's a job. I have some pretty high functioning anxiety, so I get a little nervous, just being in the room with all of those people. But I remind myself, like, I deserve to be here. I worked hard to be here, and I need to go get this interview so that we have something to talk about tonight. So it's just, there's definitely a balance, and I'm working through it. But yeah, the fan work balance is hard to tackle sometimes.
Yeah, especially when you're like, when you see something that you're like, man, I just don't agree with that on the ice. Like, how does this happen? How does this call happen? You're like, I want to say something so bad, but I can't.
Well, yeah, and then you also, like not losing credibility, like that, you don't want to make the wrong people upset, but also like, there's a way to describe if you don't like something, why you don't think that works. And like, that's what it is. It's an opinion, a lot of like analysis, like you're looking at stats and everything like that. So sometimes when you're giving an opinion, as long as you're backing it up with facts, I think and have that credibility, that you actually know what you're talking about. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Guy, I want to kind of pass it off to you if you have some questions that you would like to tackle.
Yeah. I do, and thank you for that. So, Jorden, my question's kind of like for you, and I mean, I know you can kind of maybe talk for Alex a little bit. How can you handle a season like this? How hard is a season like this? When things aren't the good seasons, oh my goodness, just let it go. But the tough seasons, the seasons where things aren't going the way they're supposed to. Like even last season, and the reason I bring this up, last season, we expected the hard part. And then it got good, and it was like, there was no shift. We expected the hard, we loved the good. Here, this season, everybody expected the good, and it hasn't come yet. So there's been this shift in understanding. So my question is about how do you handle that, or how is that handled between you and Alex and Chris and Joey, among others.
Yeah. I think it's always trying to find at least one positive, like you can call us the positive pollies, because we'll always be trying to find at least one, but it's also like keeping it real. I think it was after the Boston game, and Joey and Curbs's post-game breakdown, Curbs basically asked what went wrong tonight, and Joey's like, oh God, everything. Like it's okay to keep it real and be like, tonight was not a good night and they're gonna bounce right back tomorrow, and they did. So like it's hard. It's a definite balance, but it's painful. Like you're sitting in the studio and you're cutting up all these highlights and all these goals against, and then you like have to go through the intermission report and you're like, okay, here's a goal that was scored against us, here's a goal that was scored. It can get, just like it does on the fans, like it wears on us too, but I still remind myself every day that I'm like, oh, we lost again today. I'm like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, winning or losing. And I will say my first 2 seasons with the Blues, my internship, and then when it turned to a part-time position, we didn't make the playoffs those 2 years. So I felt those yuckies, and then when we got to like working playoff hockey last year was just like a completely different level. Like the atmosphere in that building, up on press row, like everyone's just like it's an important time, and then to lose like how we did, like that's another aspect, is like you have to talk about that heartbreaking loss because it is heartbreaking. It's not, you exceeded your expectations and all of this stuff, but you have to keep it real and understand that you could have wanted more while overcoming your expectations, I guess. So it's definitely a balance.
One of your jobs, and I don't think you talked about this during the intermissions and the post game. They play Curbs and Joey's calls, right?
Yes.
So that's your job to cue that up, right?
Yes.
So during the period when a goal scores or whatever, you've got to like segment that tape out and have it ready to go.
Yeah. So yes, I did skip over that. Sorry. So during the end game, it's a lot. I'm listening to Curbs and Joey, obviously, and then I also have the TV truck in my ear for simulcasts. Now that we do that, telling me when we're going to go to break and everything like that. So when there's a stoppage of play, I'm cutting up saves, chances, goals, fights, injuries at this point, so like a lot of times I'm listening to 3 things at once, and it can be pretty overwhelming, but I'm cutting up those highlights in time so that we can use them in the intermission report and post game.
Do me a favor, say that again.
Which one?
The about doing the 3 things at once and how overwhelming it can be.
Oh, it is so overwhelming. You get you get used to it, but at first it was a big change.
Justin, this is what I'm trying to explain to you about what I do on this show with my soundboard and having the game in one ear and having the comments here and then listening to what you're saying and all of that. She's telling you exactly what I do and how it can be. This is why sometimes, like when you're talking to me and you go, "Did you hear me?" I didn't, because my thought process is it's following something else, and I just can't do it all. Yes. Right, Jorden? Does that sound about right?
Oh, absolutely. Our last game on Friday, it was a radio only game because it was nationally televised on Hulu and ESPN and all that stuff. So it was just, regular Curbs and Joey, me talking back to them, telling them when they're coming back live, all this stuff. And I put them out of queue one time because I was cutting up a highlight. When you're listening to the same person talk at the same time, it's a little difficult to understand. So I was like, I'll turn you off for a second. And then I turned it back on and they were like, she must be working. I was like, I'm sorry, what did I miss? They were like, nope, we're just saying hi, go back to doing what you're doing. Like, they know it's a lot to take in. So 3 things at one time, it can be a lot. It can be a lot.
I trust me, I get it. Right. Prior to Justin, I did this show by myself.
Wow.
Right. I've done this show by myself for years, and it can be overwhelming. And Justin's seen me do lives and setting up for lives. If you do a remote, we've done some remote, and cool. when I do the remotes, I have to be there 2-3 hours ahead of time, right? Because there's so much that you can't get there 30 minutes before, throw everything up and go, okay, it's good to go. It doesn't work that way. right? It takes all day to do a 3-hour show,
Correct.
right? Does that sound about right for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I do the Woody show for 105.7 The Point that runs Monday through Fridays, 2 to 6 p.m. So I'm always up there a little bit ahead of time. But like, let's say on a regular Saturday away game, if pregame starts at 5, puck drop would be at 6. I'm usually getting there at like 12, 1 o'clock. You know, like it's just giving myself enough time. Like I'd rather give myself too much time and be like, oh, I'll go get some food really quick and hop back in. But then be like scrambling and not making sure that everything's done. So
Sister JJ says, hi, Jordan. Jordan is super great at what she does. So there you go, Sister JJ. I don't know. Do you know who Sister JJ is?
I do.
Okay, that's great. That's good. I wanted to make sure that he gets known for what he does. He's a great guy. Good friend of the show. We really enjoy him. I want to get back a little more to, you talked about practice, right? Mm-hmm. So Justin's been with games, and Justin kind of noticed I watch games differently than most people do. Do you watch practice differently than the average fan does? And if so, how do you watch it differently?
I'm sure I do, because, you know, when I would go to Centene before I became in the media, it was just like, oh my gosh, there's my favorite player. Oh my gosh, there's a coach, you know? And now it's like, I'm more watching for like the small interactions that happen one-on-one between players or between coaches. There was one time a couple years ago where Torrey Krug and Mike Weber were working on something, and he was not I think they were working on one-timers from the blue line, and first 5 or 6 did not go in, nowhere close, Mike Weber comes over and says something to Torrey, and like from there 100% in the net afterwards. So like I just like went up to him and like was like, hey, quick question, what did he say that actually made you like be able to shoot it in the net? Told me, and like it was such a simple answer, but that's like, as a media person, you're always looking for the story, you know? So it's like trying to understand how to turn something positive or negative into a story and like elaborate on it for a pregame show, at intermission, stuff like that. Or just from my point of view, loving the game of hockey and understanding like I think it's so cool when pregame warmups happen and you see every team do the exact same thing, because that's just like what hockey players do. Those are the trails you run, you know, like you do the same thing every time because consistency is so important. So I like seeing at practice how they're switching things up. You know, they run the power play units every time if they can, you know, so I like to see the consistency, but also like the behind the scenes part. Like I said, like everybody's always talking to somebody after a drill ends, like whether it's a player and a coach or a player and a player. And, you know, sometimes they're just laughing about, they're probably not even talking about hockey, but I love like the human interaction of it.
So. Are you up on, so I know Centene, right? Mm-hmm. Are you up in that little media where the table is, in that little area there? Are you also filming practice?
I'm sorry?
Are you filming practice also, or?
I don't. I would film, like there was one day, I don't remember after what game it was, but they ran suicides for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm sorry, skated suicides for about 10 to 15 minutes. I felt like I was watching Miracle with just again, you know? And so like I would film something like that and post it, because, you know, that's not happening day to day in their practices. So it's like that is a story there, but I'm not, you know, sometimes the news channels are there to get some of their footage, but I'm not just sitting there recording all the time.
Oh, I understand. I mean, because you talked about like when you ask the questions and that. So, so after practice, coaches and some players make themselves available. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So so are you asking the coaches questions, or is Alex asking that? How is that set up?
So if I'm usually there, we don't try to send Alex there too. He's usually like prepping for his show or, you know, spending time with his family, which I totally understand. I'm not a big question asker to head coach Jim Montgomery, because he is head coach Jim Montgomery and I don't want to say the wrong thing. But with players, it's definitely, I've come out of my shell more, and I'm trying to like work on those interviews and stuff like that. And then it's kind of confusing sometimes, you know, when you're at Centene, usually they just open up the locker room and players, if they're still in there, you can go up and ask them a question. At Centene, Monty will always come out to like his little media room with his podium and stuff like that.
Right there in front, yeah.
Yes, same way at Enterprise, Monty always comes up into our media room and on the podium. But sometimes, depending on what kind of practice it is, our PR people might pull a player out and he might speak at the podium too. We're like, we're not going to open the locker room today, or this happens to me so often. You're in the middle of a scrum and the person that you're supposed to get an interview with is walking out the door and you're like, like it's a hard time. So I like to ask the players the questions because I feel like I'm, more relatable to them, but I'm working on getting that courage for Jim Montgomery. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I got it. Am I still good to go, Justin?
No, I kind of wanted to ask, it's obviously it's something that you can't particularly, I guess, answer in a way, but I'd love to know when you interview these players, is there a specific player that you seem to kind of gravitate towards more? Like, is there a player that you find to be a little bit more even keeled, in the short amount of time that you've done it?
Yeah, I would say, those players that are just like good with the media, like Jake Neighbors, even when he was a rookie, he was answering questions like he was a 5-year vet, so players like him. Tyler Tucker has been a really good interview. He, I like when they go on their tangents because, like they, are giving you more behind the scenes and everything like that. But there's some players that are just like, I'll keep it very short and sweet. And I've noticed that a lot of people, it's just like a regular human interaction. You're probably better one-on-one than 6 people asking you a question and everybody staring at you. So, I'd say like Neighbors, Shen, obviously, Tyler Tucker, even Colton Parayko. Sometimes he'll, go on his tangents a little bit longer, but he's always giving you a good answer. So, you try to navigate towards the more veteran players. Obviously when someone's making their NHL debut, you got to go up and talk to them and make them feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I think the veteran players that, know the ropes of the media and know you're just doing your job too are probably the ones that I attract towards. So
first of all, you stole my question, Dustin. Great job.
That's what I do, man. I steal things. That's what I do, baby. Jeopardy.
So I'm going to expand on that a little bit. I would think, first of all, that Walker would be one of the best interviews you could get. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that's a good one. Matthew Joseph, I've interviewed him before, and he's pretty good. Yeah, I those are good ones. Very good.
I feel like Matthew Joseph is just a great guy to have in the locker room. He just strikes me as a funny guy, upbeat guy. One of my favorites, Robert Thomas. I feel like he's very short and sweet to the point, if I'm honest. But
what he's saying is super valid. Like he doesn't need to go on his tangents because he's getting right to the point.
So now, and I kind of lost I've got a couple of questions now, and I've got to see if my ADHD just hit me with a ton of bricks. Kapow! Back to that, you were talking earlier about like in practice with Mike. What was his name again?
Mike Weber, the defensive coach.
Mike Weber, he the video coach. Isn't he also the?
He's the defensive coach from
defensive coach. I thought he was the goalie coach, but
that's David Alexander.
David Alexander.
Okay. So Mike was talking to Krug and fixed something. I want to go back to last season and talk about Jorden Deeken. Because I've been a guest on NHL radio, and one of the I can't think of it now. Oh man, why am I blanking out? I'll get to it. But one of the things that I thought was after you watch Bennington prior to the Four Nations, and then after the Four Nations, something changed. I've always said it felt like one of the players or coaches came up to Bennington during the Four Nations and said that he was tipping his pitches. Do you feel like that might have been something that happened from you're watching them regularly. So do you think that might have been something that happened? And do you think that maybe he slipped back into that to where he might be tipping his pitches again this season?
I don't know for sure if that happened, if a player or coach said, it's definitely a possibility. I think that just gave him the confidence that, it finally, that on the international stage, yet again, he's being questioned. Like, why is he starting? So I think his ability to prove people wrong gives him so much confidence. And, as for the goaltending right now, it's not their fault. Like, they're not the problem, like you can say they've fallen off a little bit, but to me, they're just not being those superstars, game-saving goalies, because you're giving up so much in front of them. Like at some point they're bound to, even when Joel Hofer has a 41 save game, he can't keep that shutout. It's there's so much happening in front of them. Do I think their numbers have dipped? Absolutely. Do I think that there's times where soft goals have been let in? Absolutely. But you have to think of who has won you a Stanley Cup and who is great in those game saving, high danger opportunities like a game 7. So I personally have little to no complaints about the goaltending so far this year, but I can understand why people feel like we've fallen off on that aspect when the team defense has fallen off in front of them as well.
Yeah, I've been on the Mick Kern show. That's the one I couldn't remember.
Gotcha.
Well, and it's interesting with the goaltending because me and Guy have had a back and forth on this one because he's I always call him the Jordan Binnington apologist is what I call him because usually Jordan Binnington could do no wrong, and I'm a big Jordan Binnington guy. I'm a big Joel Hofer guy, but I think it is apparent to know that there is a lot of defensive breakdowns for this team for the Blues. But I do think that goaltending has lacked, as you said, this year. I was just looking at it earlier today. Jordan Binnington holds the least goals saved above expected in the NHL, and he's leading that category by a lot. Like he's like minus 17.6 or something like that. Like that's not a good goal saved above expected.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big Jordan Binnington guy. He won us the cup. He'll always have a place here in St. Louis. I think me and Guy are probably in agreement on this one that he probably will get a statue out in front of Enterprise Center someday. But it still doesn't change the fact that his numbers have been not great, and he also has not played up to Jordan Binnington as standards this year.
Yeah. No, I do agree with some of that. I think, but the one thing I look at is you're looking at, at this point in the season, you're getting close to the halfway point, and you're now you're at almost the 35-40% mark. Their numbers are actually pretty close.
Right.
When both goaltenders' numbers are pretty close, that's telling me it's not goaltending. It's telling me it's probably more on the team and things like that. All goaltenders let in soft goals, right? All goaltenders let in soft. I mean, you look at Hofer against Chicago the first game, right? I mean, he passes it right to a Chicago player into an empty net. Everybody makes some mistakes.
And I want to because I know we talked about the whole like goalies having the same percentage. I think the reason those are so similar right now is because of the start that Joel Hofer had. Joel Hofer started out the season very, very poorly. With his performances that he has given in the recent stretch of games, I think his numbers, if he played like that the whole season, I think we're looking at a completely different picture in that category to who is more above on the stat line in that category.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I want to, before we get more into we kind of transitioned accidentally there. I do have one more question about your job, if you don't mind going in there.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you're not going to be able to say names in this question, but I would like you to speak in generalities, right?
Okay.
There are players, you talked about how there are players that are great interviews, great to talk to. There are players that are not great to talk to, that are not fun to talk to, that, when you come up to them, they're going to push you off. How do you handle that? Because that can be, you talked about anxiety and trying to do your job. That, when you are doing that, that can really affect you mentally, emotionally. It can even affect you physically. And it can play with you.
Right.
And it can affect how you do your job, not unbiasedly. So my question is, when you get that, how do you deal with it?
I think it's all just about adaptability. the media world moves very quickly. There's a lot of things that sometimes happen last minute, that, you know, somebody might be speaking 10 minutes earlier than you thought they were, and, you know, you missed everything. How are you going to bounce back from that? So, like, you know, going up and talking to people, making sure that you got all the information that you need. I think, like, if a player has never denied me before. I want to make that very clear. I'm sure it happens, you know, like sometimes they're like, you know, not today, guys, like, I'm good, you know. But for me, that's never personally happened yet. Thank you. But hopefully it doesn't happen anytime soon. But I think, you know, it would just, again, being adaptable and being like, totally understand, hope your day gets better. And then adjusting a question, you know, because the interview questions that I go in with are usually, there's like a few that are about like the team based and kind of what they're going through right now. And then I always like try to ask a personal question. Alex Ferrario usually helps me out of what questions to ask and kind of go along the lines there. But, you know, if I was to, for some reason, not be able to get that player, it's just changing that question to fit the next player, or, you know, just being like, hey, because this has happened before too. Like, I go up to a player and I'm like, hey, can I ask you a few questions? And then I turn around and everybody else is with me, you know, so it's not really an interview anymore. And, you know, you just, you adapt, you know, it becomes scrum audio, and instead of like just a back and forth one-on-one interview, it's just like our regular pregame show stuff. So I think it's just about being adaptable and understanding that I'm a big control person, and understanding that everything is not going to go the way that I expect it to or that I want it to, because I think I know best and I don't, you know. So but yeah, just about being adaptable, I think.
Yeah. So that's a good question for you.
So pretty much what Guy meant was we know you can't say names, but please say names.
Oh. I would never ask her to do that. Right?
No, that's a great question.
Cadre.
No comment.
Sorry.
No comment. Yeah, that's a smart answer right there, Jordan. No comment. No comment. Yeah.
I do want to let the people that are watching know you are open to ask questions. If you ask your questions, I will post them to Jordan. I don't know if she can see them on the screen, on her screen, or not, but I can easily post them to you and read them for her. So I don't think you'd have a problem answering people's questions, would you, Jordan?
Not at all.
Okay, so that is open to you guys, and let's get into the week that was. We'll cover the Blues, the week they had last week, and then the week that they have coming up. I think the game that I want to cover the most is going to be the Preds game. You know, we had 4 games last week. We had a 4-3 win against Montreal. Then we lost to Boston by the same score that we lost to them in their building, 5-2. Then we go into the Preds, lose 7-2, and then win 3-2. And I think we're sitting 1 game under 500, if that's correct. I don't have my numbers actually completely pulled up, but I think that 2 games. Okay, 2 games.
Woohoo!
Uh-oh. We're celebrating a birthday?
I don't know. Yeah, we're 12, 14, and 7 right now.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Okay,
so I wasn't
2
sure
games.
if we're 1 or 2 games. So I knew we were close.
Yep.
Right. So we'll get into that. Let's talk about the Preds game more than anything else. Go ahead. I'll let Justin.
I kind of wanted, before we kind of to dive into the games, I kind of wanted to get, I know we're kind of going back to questions, but this is related to the Blues. I want to know your thoughts and your expectations that going into this season, what you thought the St. Louis Blues were going to be going into this season, and how has that panned out for you, seeing as where we are right now?
Yeah, I think the fan in me expected a lot, and the media person in me realistically knew where we were going to be at. And I'll be honest, I didn't think it would be struggling this much because, everybody talked about once you get that training camp with Monty, once you have a full season with Monty, like it's going to be so different, and you've got almost basically the same roster and it's just not clicking the way it did, so I didn't expect it to be this rough, especially for this long, or this, for it to take over the team and the locker room. You're talking about energy, trying to get guys excited. So it's a little rough there, but I think I kind of expected this. I remember when Jeremy Rutherford, the insider for The Athletic for 101, he comes on and does like weekly hits on all of our shows. And he I think he was talking with TMA, like, don't get your hopes up. Like, we talked about a rebuild being like 2 to 3 years just because, like, you made the playoffs and almost beat the President's Trophy team, like, that doesn't discredit your hard work and your historic run of a season, but you can't keep putting together historic runs every season and expect it to keep building in that consistency, So I think as a fan, I was like, we're going all the way because I'm going to be working every game and it's going to be great and woohoo. But I think as a knowledgeable media person, this is kind of, like I said, it's been a little bit worse than I expected, but kind of along the same lines, unfortunately.
I had them third. And
okay.
I thought that, and I was on that same boat of you, the full training camp and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something, it's not clicking. Okay. Without developing, what do you think is the reason it's not clicking?
I really don't know. And I don't think anybody knows because if they knew, they'd fix it. You even went back to a line that had so much chemistry last year with Shen, Holloway, and Kyrou. And it started to develop a little bit again before Kyrou got hurt, but not in the same, that was a consistent line for you. And like WTF line last year, I know we don't have Foxa anymore, but you still have like Matthew Joseph is a great, like, I think physical person that does really well in that fourth line with Walker and Toropchenko. Granted, both of those guys are out right now. Toropchenko should be coming back tomorrow, but I think there really is no answer for anybody right now because if they knew, they fix it. It just, it doesn't make sense.
I think that there's a multitude of reasons you can point out. Like Jordan said earlier, the defensive breakdowns at times, the poor goaltending at times, the lack of offense, the lack of finishing. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's like you get one thing that's great in 1 game, 1-2 games, and then you see like a setback in a way. You see that defensive breakdown. You see that poor goaltending. You see the Blues not being able to put the puck in the back of the net. I feel like Jordan said, if they had an answer, it would have been fixed by now. It's just polarizing to see the inconsistency for the St. Louis Blues right now.
The reason for my question is, and I was kind of wondering if the problem is a problem that can't be fixed. And, huh?
I hope not.
Well, what I'm getting at is there, and is it possible that there's a locker room issue with a player that you can't get rid of or a split in the locker room? Because we've seen this in this Blues locker room. We've seen almost these same guys have splits to where you had to bring in a new coach to bring it back together. Now you're in a situation where you can't bring in a new coach. You got Montgomery for 5 years. You're not firing him. You've got a lot of guys with no trade clauses that you can't trade, or if you wanted to trade him, the teams that they would go to can't take him due to salary cap reasons or whatever, or you're just not willing to give up on that point yet. There's a lot so that's why I was kind of asking that question. Is there the possibility that it's an unfixable problem?
Well, I wouldn't say unfixable because, they've got to figure out a way to come out of it, whether it's this season, 3 seasons down the road. Like you said, that trade, it might take a while, but it might happen. I personally don't think it's one specific person ruining it for everybody. When people were going through those offensive slumps at the beginning of the season, like that was like 5 or 6 guys going through their own version of that. Obviously, that's going to bring down the locker room, So I think just like they're professionals. They've been through, most of them have been through something like this before, but even on this team, this exact team, So I don't think it's, like I said, we don't even know how to fix it because we don't really know why they're not connecting. But if it is a locker room issue, it'll get solved. Maybe not this season, but like you said, the coach isn't going anywhere. And Doug Armstrong, you never know with Doug Armstrong. So he will make some magic happen. But like you said, like he may not be ready to give up on that specific person or that group of people. At this point, you're probably going to have to ship a few if it's going to make a difference. But he's not going to take that chance unless he's getting something well worth it in return.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, understand. By the way, I remember the question that I forgot that I couldn't remember before. And Chris Jockey says, "Has anyone ordered the bubble wrap yet?" And that's referring to Holloway going down with a lower body injury. Hopefully, that's going to be
Jorden hurt my soul. She's pointed that out 10 minutes into the show, and I'm like, man, Jorden, you can't do that. We're just getting started.
Sorry.
and then Guy brought it up. I'm like, oh man, we got to talk about it. Yeah, Holloway. Yeah, we'll get to it, but man, the injury bug. The Blues, they started off this season very healthy outside of Jake Neighbors, and they have just went down like a ton of bricks here.
Yeah. The injury bug is bitten hard. The question I was going to ask, you had mentioned the new guys, the rookies coming up, right? And how you make them uncomfortable. I'm thinking that those guys have been dreaming about that uncomfortability for years.
True. Yes. I remember when I'm sorry, go ahead with your question.
What is the best answer you've gotten from a rookie to a question?
Oh. Ooh.
Good question.
That you could understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember a specific question or a specific answer, but I remember when Dalibor Dvorsky got called up for his first NHL game last season. And he was here for 2 before he got sent down. He was very, very personable. You know, there's a bit of a language barrier there. And I actually got to talk to his dad as well while he was at the game making his debut. And they're both just, you know, it was all gratitude, obviously, like you said, they've been dreaming for this moment, but it's still nerve-wracking, you know, so I think he was a very good rookie interview. Like, we had Koskamaki come up this year, and, you know, I think he's from Finland, so there was also a little bit of a language barrier, but, like, he was very excited to be there, you know, like, it's nerve-wracking. So I wouldn't say, like, a very specific answer from Dalibor, but I was very impressed with his media skills at such a young age.
I thought it was a good question, but
that is a really good question. If I think of a specific answer, I'll definitely let you know.
What about well, I'd love to say this because what about Jimmy Snuggerud? What about him? Have you interviewed him?
I have not interviewed him one-on-one yet, but from his scrums, you can tell he listens to those veterans a lot. You know, like he played hockey in Mass, you know, like they know what they're talking about up there. And so I think he speaks very intelligently about hockey. Like he's got a high hockey IQ. So yes, he's another good one. Good pick.
Well, getting into, not to just continue to pile this on, but I'm kind of interested to know, you know, since we're talking about rookies and, you know, prospects for the Blues, obviously we're excited about the future for the Blues, and they got a lot of bright young players that I think are going to be on this roster here in a couple years. Is there anybody specifically that you're excited about seeing eventually come up to the Blues roster that is in the pipeline that's not playing in the NHL currently?
I'll be honest, I'm not all that educated on all of our prospects. You know, as they come up and like get some playing time up here, I definitely educate myself more. I remember Otto Stenberg from training camp. I think I talked to him one-on-one briefly a little bit. He looked pretty good to me. But I was really excited when Dalibor got his call up, not only last year, but this season. And like, you know, we were struggling, you know, everyone's like, you don't want to make him ready before he needs to be ready. And we kind of threw him in the fire, you know, and he, with his one-timers on the power play, I was really excited about him. And I think if we're always looking for a positive out of this season, like him stepping up, he's fallen off a little bit, like on those power play goals and stuff, but him stepping up this season he was one I was really excited for. And I'm glad he's sticking it out.
I'd actually rather a rookie be thrown into the fire than thrown into that like perfect season. And be honest, I mean, I give you a prime example of it. Robert Thomas, right? Sure. Robert Thomas came in and got thrown into a tough season to begin with.
Yeah.
And then it got better. I think that if he'd have come in mid-season when things started changing, that his leadership would not have been as good as it is, because he wouldn't have gone through, he would have just known the good stuff and not the bad stuff that came later.
Absolutely.
But because he knew some of the bad stuff at the beginning there in his rookie season, I think it really helped his leadership because I do think he's going to be the captain in the next year or two.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Adversity. Adversity. It makes you stronger. It'll only make you stronger. If, like guys said, if you come into a season where it's all sunshines and rainbows, you're not really getting any adversity. So when you get hit with that adversity, how is that young guy going to handle that situation? So that's a great point.
Yeah.
I might have the player wrong. Well, I want to get to this comment first. It says, I think the schedule has made the injury bug hit a lot of teams, no downtime to rest minor bumps, and they turn into bigger injuries. What's really interesting is, but if you look at, and I did do this, like the last 3 years, we're only like 1 or 2 games off of what the last 3 years have been. It's not like it's been 5 or 6 games. No, it's only been a couple of games, right? Because they actually moved the schedule back a week, right? They started a week earlier. Right. So that's why you're not as hit. And then the last couple of years, the Blues didn't play until the 4th or 5th day of the season. Right. They were the last team to start. Well, in the last 2 seasons, they've been one of the 2nd or 3rd teams to start. So it seems like it's more crunch, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't discount that. They are playing more games in shorter periods, so I don't completely discount it. My ADHD just hit me again because I shouldn't have said that, because I had another question or something I wanted to bring up, and now it went ding. It was something based on what you had said, and I think I'll go to this question. Hopefully the other one comes back. You talked about coaches, right? And we have some pretty decent coaches. You've been with the Blues, or you've been doing this for 3 years now, if I'm right?
Yeah, this is my 4th year.
Okay. Who's been the best coach for you to interview? And this is like a 4-part question.
Okay.
Who's been the best coach for you to sit one-on-one off the record? And then reverse that question, if you can, who's been a coach that hasn't been fun to interview or hasn't been fun for a one-on-one?
Man, I feel like we're giving 20 questions here to Jordan. I feel like we might as well just play the game.
Questions. I mean, it's the same question, just asked a little differently.
They're great questions. I don't want to drown Jordan here. She's on the lifeline there.
No, I'm good. I promise. I will honestly say I have not done a one-on-one with a coach yet. So I have not experienced that yet, anxiety. But I love listening to Jim Montgomery speak. I feel like I learn so much every time he talks about hockey. The first presser that he did when he came last season, like room is full, obviously, and everybody's there, but I'm just like sitting there and like trying to keep my jaw off the floor because like this guy is so intelligent, and the passion that he has for St. Louis, like it's very cool to see. So Jim Montgomery is, in the tenure that I've been there, he's been my favorite to learn from. Like I said, I haven't one-on-one interviewed anybody as of yet. But I'm sure that off the record stuff and on the record stuff, I mean, like after that Seattle, I believe it was goaltender interference kind of debacle, like we're still talking about, like he's still getting questions about it like 3 days later, because people want to know answers, and he's like, hey guys, like it's over with, we got to move on, so like there's definitely times where you can go like super in depth with him, and I'm sure people off the record, like Jamie Rivers, when he came back from that road trip with all those guys, and then they had Monty on the fast lane for his weekly hit, they're like just shooting the stuff back and forth over the air because they bonded the past couple of days. So I'm sure the off the record stuff, once I get comfortable speaking with him and everything like that, is going to be really fun to experience.
I have an open ear for anything you want to say to me, and I know what off the record means.
Exactly.
But there's a reason that I asked that question, and I also have a suggestion for you. You talked about the exact sit down with Steve Ott.
Yeah.
go grab Steve Ott one day after practice. Say, hey, Steve, can we talk for a few minutes before you go home?
Yeah.
I just know from what I've seen with him, that man will light up and give you the best. You're gonna, you talk about learning with Montgomery, go learn from Ott.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion. I hope that's not too forward of me.
No, I'll take that. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
All right. Any questions you have for us?
Whoa. Let's see.
Oh, man, we're really putting her on the spot tonight.
Because, it's not because we're all, Jordan, I mean, Justin, you don't realize this, but we're media too, right?
Yes.
We are media.
Oh, I believe it.
Credentialed, quote unquote, credentialed. We're not getting the player interviews and all that, but we're still media, right? And
yeah,
if you want to say, oh, you're fan media, take fan out of it. Media is media. And when media is talking to media, I've learned more talking to other media members than I have learned talking to former players, former coaches. I mean, it really, that's why I'm asking this, because maybe Jordan's got something that she's been in her brain thinking, I wonder if this, but she hasn't had the wherewithal to ask some of the more predominantly established media. Well, here she's got us kind of in the same boat as her, right? I mean, I've been doing it a little longer, but I'm in the same boat because I don't have that connection to the predominant to where she can kick those answers around, questions around, just like we're kicking the questions around to her. Does that make a little bit of sense, Jordan?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask. I have two. So one, Guy, you said that you started this by yourself. Talk to me about the process of like how Justin was brought on and like the transition for you on that.
Okay, Justin is actually my third co-host.
Okay.
I'm getting this right. So I'll get into a little bit more about, and it is personal, but I'll get into it a little bit more. In 2018, I went through a mental breakdown. And in early 2018, and I had started getting my mental health checked, doing some therapy and things like that. And one of the things that they forced me to do was go to group therapy. Okay. And in going to group therapy, I was not comfortable with it. So I was in a Facebook group with a bunch of other military, and I started doing these, what I call group updates, little Facebook lives. And I talked about the group. Well, in doing those, I started getting comfortable, and they were getting some views and comments and that. Yeah. I transitioned that into saying, well, why don't I do like a pregame rant about the Blues? Because again, that season in 18, they were struggling. So I started doing that, and my show started out being pre-recorded. It wasn't live, it wasn't interviews. Okay. And it stayed that way. I did my first ever, I did 2 live shows. I did one in 2018 for my 50th birthday at the old BlueNote in Maryland Heights, right? You were probably too young to go there. And I did another one before Game 3 at a Cybergs in South County.
Okay.
Right. But I didn't have a real good setup, like a setup to do live. So they didn't go great. I didn't start doing like live shows like this until COVID. Okay. Till the COVID season. And it was just, for me at the time, it was too hard to record the shows. A recorded show, an hour show, takes 6 to 8 hours to do. Wow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just in the video, in the setup, and I was doing skits and things like that. So I started doing the live shows, and in doing the live shows, I was really garnering some people. And I had somebody come in that wanted to co-host with me, and he did. And I was getting a little bit, but then it got me overwhelmed, and me and him separated, and then a couple other people. He took people with him, and then I had somebody else helping me, but her life got in the way. So I was doing this by myself. And when you do the type of show that we do, this isn't the only show that we do. We also do live game reactions. Like where you're doing it after the game, we're doing it in game.
Right.
Right. So we're doing it while you're working, we're working. Right. Right. You should like put us up on one of the screens so you can hear what we're saying,
Four things to listen to.
Right? but it gives you, well, we're behind though. We're like, from what you're seeing to what we're seeing, we're about 30 seconds. When we're watching TV, I know we're about 10 seconds behind the TV, but I know the TV is about 20 seconds to 30 seconds behind live.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of
There's
people
about
don't
a
understand that.
Yeah, there's about a 7-second delay over radio and then about 20 to 30 over TV, just because, you know, they got to make sure it all goes correctly, you know?
Actually, for my radio is even more delayed than my TV.
Oh, really?
When I listen to it, because I stream it. I remember I'm in Hawaii, so I have to stream it.
Yes,
right?
that makes sense.
So when I stream it, so there's that big delay for me. And it just, I was doing this by myself, and there'd be times where 1 or 2 people are watching, and it wasn't enough for me. So Justin ended up last summer sent me a message through Twitter and said, "Hey, I've seen your show and I like it. Can I come on?" And he came on, and I enjoyed it, and it kind of grew from that point.
Very cool.
Long-winded answer to a short question.
I love it though. That's awesome. Okay, Justin, one for you. Since you're the local part of the podcast, what's been the coolest in-person experience you've had with the Blues? Like a player meetup or going to a game or something like that?
I have not had the honors of going to any meet and greets. I'd love to do that eventually. But I would say I've been to a lot of games this year. This is the most amount of games I've been to this year. Sadly, hasn't gone to our fortune, of course.
Yes.
But we did. I did get to see one of the better games this season, the Dallas game. I was there for that one. That was a very good game. But I would say the best game or the best experience I had, despite what happened in the game, was Game 3 against the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs. And Jorden Deeken got hurt, and I do think that the Blues would have won that game if not for him getting hurt by who should not be named. Yep. I think the Blues would have won that game, but man, that was my first ever playoff game. I've never been to one. A fantastic experience. Nothing beats playoff hockey. The atmosphere is just incredible. So
awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, Dallas game this year was a good one to go to. So I'm glad you got to see a decent one this season.
Yeah. Can I kind of answer that question a little bit? Because with Justin, pardon me, the best experience I've had with Justin so far since he's been on the show has been our live we did at the Elks Lodge in where was that?
Cedar Hill, right?
Cedar Hill, Missouri. We did a live during the Detroit game.
Nice.
We honored a friend of mine that had passed away prior to the start of the season. And it was a really, it was the most people that have ever been at a live. The Elks really promoted it, and they had a lot of people there. It was a lot of fun. I was stressed because of where my camera was, but there were a lot of people trying to keep me because my camera was not I have a 4,000. My camera's one that TV, some of the TV guys use. It's one of the Panasonic 350s.
Wow. Okay.
So just so you know what kind of camera I got, right?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I get very anxious when people are around my camera. I almost punched a guy at one of our lives.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I had to hold him back. But
we were up in Warden, Illinois at Vitaly's Hideaway, one of the places that was on Bar Rescue. I know the owner. He invited me up there, and we had my camera set up. And this guy goes and takes a chair and puts it right on the leg of my tripod.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, $4,000 camera, and he's like, "Well, I got to have somewhere to put my drink." Yeah, Justin grabbed my arm.
Not today.
Great experience at the Elks Lodge. Might I add, Jorden, not a great game. That was the game the Blues blew the 4-0 lead. Yeah. Absolutely abysmal. But a fun time, a fun show. That was a great show. But Guy, were you finished telling your story? I know you were kind of went left, right, up, down. So
yeah.
Hello, Guy?
Is he frozen?
He might be frozen.
Oh my god. Oh. Is he back?
Guy?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I froze for that. My internet went out there for a second.
No, I was saying, Guy, I know you were doing your story. Did you want to finish that? I know you
No,
were.
we got it. No, we got it. We got it. That was. I mean, yeah. So I've learned how to ask interviewer. I used to listen to the radio. You'd hear an interviewer ask a question. Set it up. I'm like, why do you set it up like that? Why don't you just ask the question? Now here I am doing the exact same damn thing.
It's
well,
like a conversation, Sometimes when you're just like question answer, that's not how a conversation goes,
Yeah. Well, I think with the 20 minutes or so that we got left in this show, I think we should cover Blues hockey and kind of get into the games and get into what's next.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, man. I'll let you start it, bud. What's on your mind with it?
Well, we were going into the Nashville game. Jorden, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one. I can't imagine you have much positive to say about that game, but what was your thoughts on the Nashville game?
Yeah, not a lot of positives. You're right there. It was tough. I'm listening to everything, and then we've got the TV up in the studio, obviously. And by the time I'm like done cutting a highlight, I try to hit the last replay. So I'm always like going back and watching the highlights just so like my eye test, like I'm listening to everything, but let me watch it. And there was just, they were leaving Bennington out there just all by himself. In that first period, I think we had like not a lot of offensive opportunities, but the ones that we did were like grade A scoring chances, like right in the slot, in between the face-off dots, like not and just straight on goal, not overturn, like not capitalizing on those opportunities when Steven Stamkos can score 4 goals in a game by himself, so like you have to make sure that you're finishing on those opportunities and staying consistent throughout the whole game. But, I know some people were like, pull Bennington, like he's done. Like it was a back-to-back. Like I actually respected the decision to wait to pull him, like give Hofer the intermission to like warm up. Hopefully like it's more of a conversation with Bennington at that point, like rather than just like getting pulled right out of the net and like, an I love you match happening again, like between Monty and Bennington. But yeah, overall that game was just, I would say painful is the word that I would use.
I love Steven Stamkos. He was actually one of my first ever jerseys that I got from Tampa Bay. But I gotta give him 3 goals. I gotta give Justin Falk the fourth one because he put it in with his own skate. So technically he got 3. But
that's true.
Yeah, he got 4 on the sheet. I know Justin Falk. Justin Falk is the whipping boy, as me and guys say. Above this team, everybody gets on Justin Falk for anything. It was not a good game to sit through by any means. And like you said, I thought the Blues in the first period, Saros was excellent for the Predators. If Saros was not up to his game, I think that game is probably 2-3-0 Blues.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate because I thought the Blues came out and played a very good first period, and then Nashville scored, and then it was kind of all downhill from there.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I just thought of something, and this is a good, like, I don't think you can answer this question, but it's something that you can throw later down. A good question, like when you're sitting around with Curbs and Joey and Alex, pre-gaming or whatever, maybe throw a question to him one time. Why does it feel like Blues fans always have to have a whipping boy?
Yeah.
We always seem like we have to have one player that we're getting on that we don't like for some reason. It was Scandella for a while. It's been, I know why it's Kyrou. I can get into that all day long. But now it's shifted to Falk. But we've always seemed to have that whipping boy. Why is it that our fans seem to need that?
I mean, I wouldn't even just say it's like our fan base. I think that's like a sports, like you're not going to make everybody happy. Like, even like non-sports related, like I get little hate comments on my videos and I'm like, ha ha ha. Like, you kind of just got to let it roll off, like everyone, you're not going to make
I could just picture
happy.
you doing that. I could just picture you reading them comments.
I literally laugh. I'm like, you're probably right, but okay. Like, I don't know.
It took me a while. It took me a while to learn that. It really did. Like when I first did this, because I didn't have, like, you had training. You had some training, going to school. I didn't have that. Yeah. So I jumped into this with both feet, and blinders on, not realizing that was going to come. And if you're not ready for it, it can be a shocker. And I know Justin's dealt with it a little bit, you know, and how and it is hard to deal with some of that, to just shake it off.
Oh yeah, it's so much easier said than done. Like the first one I got, I was like, okay, that was kind of mean. And then like 2 hours later, I looked back at it and I was like, ha, that's funny. So like,
okay, that's kind of me.
Yeah, honestly, it's just about your perspective, you know. And like I said, in life, in the world, like nothing's fair. You're never gonna make everybody happy. So like, I think the Blues fans always having a whooping boy is just like they're even like. I think the year that we won the cup, like still people like were on Jay Bouwmeester, you know, like, and he was one of the most like decorated players of our team, you know, like there's always going to be something because people love to complain.
Yeah, there's exactly. And that's a good point. That's exactly what I've been saying to Guy for the longest time now. People just love to complain just to complain. What is it? I think whipping boy, I think it's a kind of a bad term in a way. I would say scapegoat is probably the more PG, better way of putting it. Every fan base, and I am with Jordan on this one, every fan base has a scapegoat. I mean, you see it in football, you see it in basketball, you see it in baseball. There's always some, guy that a fan base hones in on that. I don't like that guy. And most of the times it's like, I don't even know why I don't like this guy. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think that's a great question, Guy, because I think that's always an interesting aspect of how people that work for these teams kind of feel about that kind of thing. Like, because that they hear it, it's out on the internet, it lives forever. So it's interesting to see what they think about it.
When you go back, when you think about it, you go back to Bouwmeester. Like I had Hanger on right during the right before the COVID season, the shortened season. Okay. He came on my birthday one year, and we talked about Bouwmeester a little bit, and everybody was on. But he's sitting there going, "I can look at Bouwmeester and tell you he's still injured. He's not going to his left. He can't go to his left. That's why he's having some of the issues. We as fans may not see that, so we go, "Oh, he's bad," or "He's doing this." During the COVID season, everybody was on Zach Sanford. Right. I mean, everybody called him a traffic cone. Problem is, he was a traffic cone, but at the same time, he was Berube's boy. Berube would put him out in situations, no matter what. He'd make a mistake. Berube never call him out on it. But Thomas get called out on things, or the other players were getting called out on things. Yet Sanford didn't. So that's some of it. But then you look at like this season with Falk. I don't think Falk's played as bad as everybody's made him out to be. I don't even think he's been close. Right? Yeah. So and I didn't and I skipped Kyrou on purpose. I didn't want to get into that because
and not getting into the players. Yeah, Justin Falk I don't think he's played as bad as everybody thinks. I still think, I think Philip Broberg has been the best Blues defenseman this year, and I think he's surely but showing why he's going to be a number one on this team. In a couple of years. But I actually wanted to get Jordan your take on this because I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen a lot of negative backlash for Curbs and Joey on the call for the Blues. And I know that this has to do a lot with how they handled the John Kelly situation. I feel like that has mostly to do with it, but I feel like these guys are getting a lot of hate for really no reason. I don't really understand it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of that. Again, people love to complain, but it's also people don't really like change, like John Kelly was a household name, the press box up on the 4th floor at Enterprise Center is the Dan Kelly Memorial Box. So like it's, they're engraved in this organization. So I think, the sudden change really, probably turned people off, but I think Curbs and Joey have made a great adjustment. There's a lot of times where they'll say, you'll see this or that guy right there. And that can be a little bit confusing for radio listeners, but they're usually pretty good about saying that guy right there, Jordan Kyrou, I personally haven't seen a whole lot of hate towards them, but people are always going to have something to say. And those guys are trained professionals. They've probably heard every word in the book, every name in the book be called, everything is just going to, he can't say everything will roll off their back because they're humans. They have feelings. You know, people should be kind, but those guys are trained professionals and they can handle it. So.
I'm sure they can. I mean, it's Curbs especially. Curbs is one of those guys. When you listen to him on the radio, he holds no punches back. He's just like, that was absolutely awful. That was a terrible call. These refs should be ashamed of themselves.
He loves the refs.
Yeah. He strikes me as a guy who doesn't really care if people like him very much. But yeah, you do have that. You obviously do have that human element. But I feel like with those guys, like you said, they're professionals. It probably doesn't get to them as much as you think it does.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I've interviewed Curbs before. He was a pretty good interview. Here's Scary Phantom says there is strong talk about Barber going to Toronto. At least that's what the Steve Dangles show reported.
Yeah. Okay.
That I think right there, that says everything. Toronto thinks every player in the league is going. Every good player in the league is going on a bad team is going to Toronto.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I will say this: if Broberg went to Toronto, he would instantly be their best defenseman. So that would be good on Toronto. But believe me, Broberg is not going to Toronto. I can tell you that for sure. Armstrong, I guarantee you, Armstrong is making his plans and getting his stuff ready, because I do think Holloway and Broberg probably re-sign with the Blues, or they're going to try to at least get that done.
I think they're going to get re-signed during the winter break. I know that. For me, I know that Armstrong might be in Italy during that period, but I think that he's going to let Steen have some of the reins and say, okay, this is where you can go without my approval. You can do anything in this range without my approval, and then I can sign it later, or I can give you authority to sign it. I have a feeling, because if Steen's taken over, this has got to be the two contracts that he takes over. He's got to be the one to do these two contracts.
Yeah, because I would be shocked if they do not extend. For sure, Broberg. I mean, Holloway, if we've got another long-term injury, it might be a little bit harder, of a sell. But for what those two have done, the steal that you got them from, first of all, and then for what they've done for your team, I think Broberg is your number one defenseman right now. I think he'll still continue to evolve into that consistent number one. But I think, we've talked about how people aren't like in Falk this year. I feel like Parayko's kind of been thrown in there, and Broberg's just stepped up. He's got the highest time on ice for those defensemen, and he's always a part of the rush, jumping up on the offense. I know it's been reported on a show, but I would be shocked if Broberg goes anywhere.
I don't see Broberg going anywhere. There's no way in my mind that you give up the trust and the amount of willingness that you had to go out and get a Broberg and overpay him. And I do say overpay. I think he's living up to that contract. But I'm kind of with Jordan on this one. I don't know if I can call him a significant number one right now, but he is playing as if he is a number one, because although I love Parayko, and I think Parayko is probably still considered to be their number one, I think Parayko's play has not been spectacular this year, but it also hasn't been bad. I think the pairing of Broberg and Parayko have been outstanding together, but I think Broberg has just went to another level, and it's kind of crazy that Edmonton fumbled that so badly.
So bad. So bad.
Guy, and I didn't want to cut you off in your last thing here, but I kind of wanted to get into the positives of our next game, because we've been talking about the negative of our last game. So
go for it.
We had the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, and we were hoping that the Blues would rebound and get a little bit of revenge on the Blackhawks after the, might I add, ass kicking that they got in the first game. 8-3. Honestly, a lot played into that game, but the Blues came back and I think played a great game. Bedard got hurt at the end of this game. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, Jordan, because I know that Blackhawks fans were just up in arms. I've seen it all day. I've seen it since it happened. Oh, throw Shin in jail. Shin's terrible. Right. He's a dirty player. And I just find it funny considering it's coming from Blackhawks fans who don't really remember the wakey Bacchus a few years years ago now at this point. So I kind of find it funny. I know how each fan base are when their guy gets hurt, but this looked like a nothing play to me. This looked like just a strong play by Shin, holding a lead, protecting a lead like any NHL player should do.
We're gonna have a special guest really fast. Sorry. He'll be fine. Yeah, I think it was a hockey play. I didn't see, there's 2 seconds left on the clock. You're not gonna let that kid get a shot on goal. You're gonna take him down. I think it was more of an awkward play and kind of just went down wrong. I don't think he played tonight, but I don't think that they thought it was like a very serious type of thing. So, Blackhawks fans are always going to have something to say if their player gets hurt. And, yes, it's Bedard, but none of his teammates stuck up for him at the end of that game. They just let him go down and nobody went after Chen, so if the players didn't think it was that bad, is it really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think it just kind of lends to the play itself. None of the Chicago players went after Shin, but and I think that they just kind of looked at it like, oh, because I don't think many of the Blackhawks fans or anybody mostly on the ice thought that Bedard was even hurt until he got up and he was holding his shoulder. So I don't think that any of those players on the ice thought that, oh yeah, that was a dirty play by Braden Shen. I just thought that was a strong guy. And then Bedard he's not been injured like a crazy amount, but it feels like Bedard, he's very tiny. He's not the biggest guy in the NHL. I feel like he is prone to getting a lot of injuries and kind of banged up in a way, seeing as he's kind of still young. He's still kind of on the smaller side. So he's kind of made of glass in a way is what I've seen. So I just kind of thought that it was an interesting play that happened.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that Shen did anything wrong. And I did see the thing saying arrest Shen and
thank goodness.
Yeah, come on. There was absolutely nothing. And if you want to sit there and like you mentioned, Justin, what about the wakey Bacchus? And a guy gets hit in the head and you've got your player standing over and going wakey after a dirty shot. That wasn't what this is or in any way, shape, or form. The Blues are going to take on Nashville on Monday, then the Winnipeg Jets on Wednesday. They will finish this 4-game homestand with the Rangers before they do a 2-game road trip to Florida. Jordan, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyways. When is the dad's or mom's trip for the Blues this season?
I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day because I haven't, there's not anything in there right now of a long road trip. I think it's probably, going to be towards the end, but I'm looking in March, there's kind of a good 4 or 5 game road trip right at the beginning, but I don't know, excuse my cat. I don't know if you would, want to wait that long. You might want to make that happen in January before the long break and everything like that, but I have no insider knowledge on that. I'll for sure try to find out for you though.
Yeah, no, I mean, just because, they've done the dad's trip on the Florida trip. Right. They usually do it on a 2-game road trip.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
They usually do it on a 2-game road trip, and the moms or the dads. I think the moms went the first time 2 years ago, and it had always been the dads up to that point.
Yeah.
And then I think the moms went last year also, but I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. So, no, I was just kind of wondering that. With the Blues facing off against the Predators again, the question right now is, do you start Hofer or Bennington? And I think the majority of the people are going to say the same thing. And I'm going to ask Jordan before we say what we think.
I would start Hofer.
Yeah. I think you've got to play Hofer until he has a bad game. Right. And you said, and if Bennington is the professionally came out and said, oh, I was just upset. I thought I should have gotten a little more time. And that's, I get it. He's a professional. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's always done that. That's the kind of guy I want him to be. You pull him aside and say, look, I'm going to go hot hand. When he has a bad game, then you're back. You're not losing number one. You're still on number one. I'm just playing the hot hand. And I think that's the best way to do it right now.
Well, yeah, and
Right.
obviously, like rest wise, like he'll always need it. He's gonna be a part of Team Canada if all goes well. So like he's not gonna have that time off that Hofer will have. And like if you look at this week, I would start Hofer against Nashville tomorrow, and then Wednesday I would put Bennington in there against the Jets. I think that there's history there, and it's a high intense game. So that way Hofer would take the Rangers, and then I would have Hofer in net on Saturday as well.
No, I think I would have Bennington and Saturday. And
Yeah,
I would have
no,
Bennington on the
Jordan.
road trip.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fair.
no, Jordan.
That's fair.
No.
I only say that because there is, like it's not the back-to-back, the day off, and then I would play Bennington that last game on the 22nd before you go into that Christmas.
right.
So then the Hofer's just getting that one more,
Yeah.
But
Me personally, me personally, you're not going to say Hofer's your starter, but as of right now, there's goalies that play better at certain points. It is Hofer's net to lose. So Hofer needs to be the guy that you run with. The Blues have a tendency of shaking goaltenders up quite a bit and not riding the hot hand at times. They need the hot hand is Hofer right now, and you need to give him more of the starts than Jordan Bennington. And that's not a knock on Jordan Bennington. Love Jordan Bennington, but there's times where you lose the net and you have to get it back. So that's what Jordan Bennington has to do.
It also doesn't have to be like goalie controversy. Like both of them being good is what you want it to happen, so that way you don't have to ride somebody until they mess up for you and like blow a whole game. Like if both of them are healthy, if both of them are like feeling good and confident, like you should alternate them. That's what you want from a goalie tandem. It's always been like the starter and the backup, or just lucky enough to have like basically a 1A and a 1B, and I think people don't really like that concept all that much.
I love that concept, to be honest.
I love it too.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and we've talked about goalies and salary cap. Myself and Guy are in agreement on this one, that we think the Blues, when it comes to their goalies and their salary cap and the combined, it's a great place to be with both of those guys, because those guys are capable of being fantastic tandem together.
Yep, I agree.
Well, Jordan, we got about 3.5 minutes left, maybe a little less. I'd like to let you tell everybody where they can find you and how they can watch and hear you and what you do for them.
Yeah. So whether you're in St. Louis or all the way out in Hawaii, you can hear all of the Blues broadcasts at 101ESPN.com, or from your 101 mobile app. You can hear everything from there. I make game day and reaction videos that are posted by 101 ESPN on all the social media platforms, X/Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok. They're all over there. Game day and reaction videos, so you get the game day preview, you get the next day reaction, and then you can hear me every Blues game on 101 ESPN, and then I also give weather reports on 105.7 The Point, The Woody Show, from 2 to 6. So you can find me in lots of different places. I'm at JordanDeeken on all social media platforms. Jorden Deeken, that's me. So yeah.
Who sponsors your show?
My First Community Credit Union game day previews are sponsored by First Community. We're working on getting the sponsor for the reaction right now. So if you see that come out anytime soon, I'll be very, very honored and very blessed if that happens. But yeah,
you can help us get some sponsorship.
Yes, I would love to. I would love to.
No, Jordan, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and doing this. You're a lovely person. You're a lovely interview. Had a lot of fun. I hope this isn't the only time that you come on. If you ever want to come on the show, you want to talk about a situation, you want to talk about a trade or something like that, or you just want to whisper in my ear something that I might be like, please shoot it our way. I would greatly appreciate that. I think Justin would too.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun. Right?
Oh, we got Corey going, oh no, I missed it. Yep, Corey, you're going to have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, Corey.
Hey, Corey.
So, we have a special way of ending the show, Jordan. I hope you sit back and don't click off right away. Once we go off air, I'd like to talk to you for a bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Justin.
Yes, sir.
By the way, before we do, Justin, did you see the banner on the bottom? I don't know. I know you have a problem with your eyesight, but I got our email address, your Twitter, and my Twitter on the bottom down there.
Oh, there we go. You're my hero. You are my hero. Yeah, no, Guy, I think there is only one way to end this show, man. I think there is. Where are the girls at?
Oh, girls!
What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo. And I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Justin, call them like they're late for dinner.
Where the boys? Where they at? Show me the boys.
Hawaii Blues fan, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, thanking our guest, Jorden Deeken, from ESPN 101 Radio, and our Deeks Peaks on Facebook, YouTube, and all your social media platforms, along with my co-host. Oh, he froze on me. Jord, oh, there you go. Along with my co-host.
Justin Eagle Eye Scott.
Saying aloha
There
and
we go.
mahalo. And you got to know that Guy, the Hawaii Blue fan, is absolutely bleeding blue with you.
And as always, it's Let's Go Blues.
This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for the Blue Note Fan Report, saying thank you, aloha, and mahalo. And we'll see you next time, tomorrow night, on the Blue Note Fan Report, as we do the Blues versus the Predators live game day reaction. Good night.